Let me paint a picture for you. You've been growing your hair out for 3 weeks. That's a new personal record. Your hair is dry. You've used more oil than a naughty masseuse on a Friday night. You disgust me. Half of your friends are telling you to get locks, the other half waves, but none of them want you to prosper. So you find yourself in the barber chair once again, sad, angry, confused, ready to restart your hair journey for the 4th time. And then you find this video and you realize it's not too late. Tip number 1 is to diagnose the problem. Why do you want to cut off your hair? Is it too much work to maintain? Is it uneven? Do you miss the look of short hair? Now that you know the reason why you want to cut it off, you now need to remind yourself of the reason that you started to grow your hair in the first place. My main reason was that I tried the short hair look. I had my hair short for basically the majority of my life, all throughout high school, basically until I graduated and then I started university. So I already know the ins and outs of having short hair and I wanted to try something else. I wanted to try something new. That's my why. You need a strong why that you're going to rely on when you start to feel like you want to quit. And there's also the fact that I looked kind of stupid, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Short hair was not the best look for me. And if you want some actionable tips, I want you to keep pictures of the worst haircuts that you've ever received, or just pictures where you had short hair and you were not looking like all of that. You were looking mighty scruffy, bro. You're gonna take those pictures, you're gonna keep them on your phone, maybe in like a hidden place, like one of those calculator apps. Don't pretend like you don't know what I'm talking about. You know about those calculator apps, bro, okay? Okay, me and you, okay? Made from the same cloth. And whenever you feel like quitting, I want you to look at those photos and reminisce on how ugly you looked, bro. Like, Jesus. Like, examine your head shape and ask yourself, do you truly want to look like that again? Do you want to be that person? Now, for me, I know that I never want to go back to that ever again. But if you want to go the extra mile, what you could do is you could also save some photos of the hairstyles that you actually want. So find some pictures of them online, save them, favorite them into your photos gallery. And whenever you feel like quitting, I want you to look at those and kind of like fantasize about how life would be if your hair hung past your jaw like mine does, brother. You gotta get on this level, bro. Trust me, life is so much better over here. We popping bottles. I want you to think about how good life would be if you had curls that every girl in a 2-mile radius wanted to run their hands through, okay? Or guys, I don't know what you're into. Or how freeing it would be to not have to worry about your hairline because your hair covers it, bro. Honestly, that's a superpower, man. That's one of the main reasons that I do curly hair routines. And if you don't know how to make your hair curl, I got a separate video on that in one of the corners. I forget which one. But by reflecting on these things, you'll be able to snap yourself back to reality because you're actually thinking long term instead of focusing on how you feel right now. Now, I use this trick in every single thing that I do, whether it's starting a new skill or building a new habit. And that is to establish a grace period for yourself. In a lot of video games, there's usually this X amount of time that you're not allowed to damage your opponent when you start a new match. What I want you to do is I want you to make a contract with yourself that for X amount of time, you are not gonna quit your hair journey. For an X amount of time, you're not gonna cut off your hair. You're not gonna make any rash decisions. You're not going to judge the results that you have until that time period has passed. And this is because a lot of people focus their commitment or base their commitment on short-term results. Hair growth takes a long time. And unfortunately, because of this, a lot of people end up quitting before they start to see the fruits of their labor. But the reason this strategy is so good is that it can be applied to so many different areas in your life. For example, when I first started YouTube or making content in general, not just YouTube, I make it on TikTok and on Instagram. I made myself a contract basically. And I said to myself, I'm gonna do this for an entire year regardless of the views that I get. And it's only going to be after I've been doing it consistently for a year that I'm going to reevaluate and see if it's still worth doing. And if it wasn't profitable by the end of that year, then I could just quit. There's no shame in that because I actually tried. I tried my hardest. But oftentimes you'll be surprised by the results that you get because I think I started making content around like August, the beginning of August in 2020, and I was getting like 0 to 100 views on videos, you know. There was no big hit until October. I think it was the end of October where I had my first viral video, and then I went from a couple thousand subscribers and followers straight to 10,000 subscribers. So you never want to quit before that point. You want to make a contract with yourself, establish a time period where you're not allowed to quit, and you'll be surprised by the results that you get before that period finishes. So if you find yourself restarting your hair journey a lot, Establish a grace period. It'll stop you from making rash decisions that you'll end up regretting in the future. Now, a common reason that people consider restarting their hair journey is because they feel as though their hair is uneven. Now, you could always go to a hair salon to get this trimmed, but if you want to prevent this problem at the beginning of your hair journey, you should ask your barber for an undercut. Now, a lot of people just go to their barber and ask for a fade, but as someone who actually cuts hair, you need to understand how we view that request. When somebody asks me to give them a fade, I immediately think, or my immediate process is, okay, I need a gradual gradient from little to no hair to long hair, and I need that gradient to go all the way to the top. So essentially what that means is I'm blending everything into the top. And because it's a blend, your hair is going to be uneven because it's a gradient. So essentially what you want to do is ask for an undercut, which is something like this. You could do anything that you want to do with this after it's established, but basically you want a clear distinction between the hair that you're going to keep long and the hair that you're going to keep short and fade all around. If you want to know my haircut, I got a drop fade undercut, which basically means that in the back, it goes a little bit lower. Now, it's easier to do this if you know how to cut your own hair, and if you don't know how to cut your own hair, I actually have a live that goes through my entire process, so you could check that out. But if you're still going to a barber, one thing I used to tell my barber all the time is you want to get very specific with this. I would tell them this phrase: hey, I'm trying to grow out my hair. Can you fade everything underneath, but do not take any length off the top? Even if you don't use the word undercut specifically, you want to clearly communicate with your barber that you don't want them to take any length off the top. You just want to fade and style underneath it. It's easier to appreciate your hair when it looks the way you want. So the next time that you go to the barbershop, make sure that you tell the barber not to blend the fade into the long part of your hair. Now, even though natural hair can be a lot of work, it doesn't always need to be like that. So if things are starting to get tough, consider getting a protective style. You could get something like cornrows or braids or a mixture of the two, but the point of this is you're going to significantly cut down on the time required to take care of your hair. No more 2-hour wash and goes, no more weekly detangling and styling. You could just kick back and enjoy the style that you have. I do this almost every month or whenever I feel like I need a reset from my hair. But not to mention, once your hair starts to get long, it's the perfect chance for you to show off that hang time. So before you mindlessly chop off your hair, try getting a protective style to lighten the load. And if you can't get a protective style, maybe your parents are a little strict or your hair isn't long enough yet, then try creating a routine that's more sustainable. A lot of you are following these 16-step wash and goes that take ages to perform. Adjust your routine in a way that makes it more sustainable or minimizes the time it takes to complete or cuts down on the effort required. For example, when I used to detangle my hair, I used to put it into 2-strand twists to keep it from untangling itself as I moved around my head. But then I realized that this took a lot of time. So what I started doing was I started to use hair clips. And the benefit of using hair clips was I didn't need to measure out each strand to make sure that they were even, and I didn't have to go all the way down the strand to make sure that everything stayed together. I could just quickly twist it up, tuck it away, move on to the next section. Or here's another example. I used to wait for my hair to air dry, which would literally take hours, right? So instead, I invested in a blow dryer. So now I can diffuse my hair within 15 to 20 minutes. This took my wash day from taking 4 to 5 hours to do to 2 hours, which may seem like a lot of time, but you have to keep in mind that I only wash and style my hair once every 2 weeks. So those 2 hours gets me 2 weeks of not having to bother my hair in virtually any shape or form. And if you want to know what my curly hair routine looks like, I'll leave the link to that video in the corner. Now, I can honestly say that this tip has stopped me from cutting off my hair on so many occasions that it's not even funny. And that is to ask yourself, if I cut off all of my hair right now and I ended up regretting it, how long would it take me to get back to the point that I was originally? Let's think about it for a sec. If you learned a new skill, right? And then for some reason you stopped using it for years and then you tried it again, right? You'll struggle at first, but you still have that muscle memory there. So it's not like you're starting from zero. But if you have 4 years of hair growth and you cut it off, it's gonna take you 4 years to get back to the point that you were originally at. You have to wait another 4 years of your life. 4 times 365, that amount of days. Quick maths. I can't figure it out right now. Hopefully the editor will put it on the screen so I don't look like a stupid dumbass. There are no checkpoints when it comes to hair growth. At least if you got something like locks, you could cut off the locks at the base and then have them interlocked later on, or insta-locked later on if you decide that you wanted to lock your hair again. But when it comes to your natural hair, if you cut everything off, that's it. Game over. Okay, you gotta start from level 0 now. Hair growth is mainly a waiting game, so you need to ask yourself, before you cut off all your hair, you need to ask yourself, am I willing to wait X amount of months or years to get back to that point? My answer is always no. So if you feel compelled to spontaneously cut off your hair, just know that once it's done, it's done. Okay, there's no response. There's no coming back from that, okay? And that the thought of that usually snaps me out of it. Now I've got a lot more of these tips, so let me know down below in the comments if you want to see a part 2 to this video. But none of these tips are gonna help if you can't grow out your hair. And a common obstacle for a lot of guys is their parents. So I want you to watch this video next, where I go over how to convince your parents to let you grow out your hair. I go over some really helpful and deceitful strategies that are gonna help boost your odds to getting them to say yes. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.